First, I would like to set the global context. The energy revolution scenarios are part of a global program. So we have a global energy scenario to stay, what we need to do to stay under +2 degrees, as well as national ones. Basically, we have currently in industrialized countries, we have around 8.5 tons CO2 per person. And on a global level, including in developing countries, we need to go down to 0.5 ton per person, which is ambitious but possible. And we also have a strategy that developing countries are allowed to increase CO2 emissions on the energy side for a number of years before they decrease, while industrialized countries need to decrease straight away. So for the Argentinian scenario, we assume that the energy-related CO2 emissions will rise another 3 to 4 years before they come down. Since 2008, the overall global market volume for renewables has almost doubled. In 2008, it was $130 billion, and in 2010, $211 billion. So it's an increasing market. Especially wind power and solar photovoltaics are the two technologies which grow fastest, and they are now very close to be competitive with conventional sources or even cheaper. If we have a look what countries are number one in different technologies, you see only 3 names. It's usually China, Germany, and the US. The only time where you see Argentina in this ranking is at the biodiesel production. And this is the only renewables energy source in this context which has the most environmental impact. So we do not support biodiesel as such in all forms. We have a very strict set of criteria in what form we accept biodiesel. The wind in Argentina would be a huge source because Argentina has 7.5 times more space than Germany and much more wind. And this is the picture for Argentina, mainly gas and some hydro. And you see that in many cases there is nothing going on at all. So that's a very good indication that there is no consistent energy policy. We have a basic logic in all energy scenarios. We have step 1 is energy efficiency, so we try to use the energy as efficient as possible. And then step 2 is that we start to introduce structural changes, so to operate a renewable energy system works differently than a system based on conventional power. And we have more energy efficient transport systems across all the different sectors. In a nutshell, we have a smart consumption generation distribution, and we use the resources available within the country. So we're not just promoting solar or just promoting wind. We have a specific analysis about the available resources in the country and use them. I'm jumping now into the results of this scenario. And this is, shows you the efficiency pathway. Basically, the white bar here is what we are able to save. And you see that the dark blue thing, we can stabilize the energy demand for transport, while in the reference scenario it would double. We achieved the energy reduction in the transport sector not by just not traveling, but by traveling with more efficient cars and public transport, and mainly we move electricity further into the transport system. So we do not replace oil with biodiesel, we replace usually oil with electrical drives. And with this strategy we are able to save, compared to the reference scenario, 70% of the current Argentinian demand. So while the reference scenario goes up in the energy demand, we can almost stabilize it and save all this, and not needed energy is the cheapest one. So that's why it's in a very cost-effective way. Moving to the supply side, on the renewable energy share in Argentina, we move from roughly 30% today, which is mainly large hydro, to over 85% in 2050. So we have an energy mix of different renewables which don't need fuel, while in the reference scenario, Argentina heavily relies on gas, which is usually imported and not from within the country. So our scenario is not just climate friendly, but also security of supply wise much better. And last but not least, there is the fuel costs are sort of spent outside. The money goes outside the country, while the investment in renewables means that the money remains in the country and in the economy. I want to finish with the CO2 emissions. This scenario will stabilize the CO2 emissions from Argentina in 2015, and then will reduce step by step until 2050. Finishing with the policy, what we need is we need a long-lasting energy policy. We need a sustainable energy policy which remains for a number of years and will not be changed every 6 months. And we also need a phase-out for subsidies for fossil and nuclear fuels, because that is the situation very often is you need to subsidize renewables to be able to compete against subsidized fossil fuels. And it doesn't make sense. And we need to have a renewable electricity regime like a feed-in law, which is a guaranteed price per kilowatt hour. So the small businesses and medium-sized businesses and farmers can actually build up their own capacity and earn money by harvesting wind over their fields and get an additional income to on top of the food production, for example. And last but not least, and I finish there, is we need strict efficiency standards for electrical equipment, for example. And most of the efficient equipment is available on the market and could be implemented even without any extra cost. So that's a regulation which will not cost anything for the government.